Hello and welcome everyone, this is Type V3 and don't believe in what they tell you. Every girl has a dark side. Case in point, Figma Insane Black Rock Shooter. But before we progress, I should warn you that this review may contain some slight spoilers for the Black Rock Shooter anime. So if you have yet to watch it, I suggest you hit the stop button here. Otherwise, let's get on to the figure. Simple and clean is out the window. Insane Black Rock Shooter swaps out her long black coat and high-cut boots for a layer of armor plating that's a little more demonic in its inspiration. The sculpting on this figure is nothing short of incredible. Everything is sharp and crisp down to the smallest of details, such as the rips in her top or the heels of her shoes. The armored limbs are easily the most impressive of all the detailed sculpting. What's more is that their bulky design masks all the jointing, and that's saying something since the larger Figma joints were used with this release. My only real issue is in her crotch area. Technically, there's nothing wrong with it, but because it's the only obvious visual break in the sculpt, it does tend to stand out that much more than usual. Also, while her hair might look identical to the original BRS, it's actually entirely different. It seems to have more of a messier, edgy look. Equally incredible is the paint job on Insane Black Rock Shooter, and it's arguably the most prominent feature that gives this Figma its premium feel. Her armor is where all the eye candy lies. From every angle, the metallic finish looks convincing, with the scratches and slight rust on the edges giving it character. Her top is a wonderful mixture of layers and textures, with the checkered and star patterns completing the look. Lastly, she also has violet highlights in her hair that pop in ways that the blue of the original BRS could not. For the most part, the finish of the paintwork is flawless, but the white stripes could have been cleaner in application, especially around her belt. And while I'm at it, I think she could have used a brighter and bolder shade of white. By now you've probably noticed that Insane Black Rock Shooter has a wonderfully colorful pair of eyes. It's a blend of purple, pink, and aqua with a red pupil cementing her wicked personality. The emotionless face is par for the course when it comes to BRS fiction, but it's her second look that's got me intrigued. It's essentially the I'm bored with you look, an expression that only an all-powerful character could give. I love it. It just makes everyone around her seem like a fool. Insane BRS has a standard Figma body, so in terms of articulation, if you've ever had a Figma, then you know what to expect here. What's interesting is all her little oddities that she has. For example, the shoulder piece here can move on its own, so in terms of different types of posing, you can get it out of the way. And even the elbow guards are somewhat posable in what here and there. With her wrist, sometimes you end up with a floppy fist, and if it flops down like that, this guard here actually can rotate. And it's supposed to follow the lines of the fist, but if you move it enough, you can force it to hold a floppy wrist joint there. So that's really cool. Again, you cannot see her torso joint there, and you can't see her waist either. So very cool. The backside, there are some huge Figma joints here, but as you can tell, there's armor plating that wraps around it. And when it comes to the knee, she actually has a standard Figma joint, but there's a kneecap there, and on the top of the kneecap is this plate, so that when she bends her knee, it just extends on its own. And I really like that. I love segmented jointing, so it keeps the look very complete and doesn't show any visual breaking in terms of the sculpt. The feet are cool. I love how they're designed, but if you can tell from the bottom, there's a little heel and a little, I guess, platform there, and that makes this figure one of the hardest Figmas to stand without the display stand. It's not super tough, but more often than not, you'll have an issue with her falling over, especially because her hair is super heavy, and like the first one, all the pieces are very pointy and will draw blood, and of course they have their own Figma joints as well. So articulation is awesome, and I love all the little oddities that's been added to it. Aside from her fists, Insane BRS comes with an additional 4 pairs of hands. The first 2 are relaxed and flexed open palms, which are very similar to both Black Gold Saw and Dead Master's fingers. An argument could be made that these hands may be slightly too large, but I don't find the proportions to be horribly out of scale with the rest of the figure. As for her final 2 pairs of hands, one is a slanted gripping fist, while the other is a straight pegged grip. These are specifically used to wield her accessories. Starting with her left, we have the Insane Black Claw. The sculpting is great and highly screen accurate with those 4 serrated blades. The paint is also fantastic, with the rusted silver giving this killing tool an aged regard. Swords don't get more nefarious than this. Next, her right hand, and with it the Insane Cannon Lance, the weapon to rule all others in the Black Rock Shooter universe, and it's enormous! The entire accessory is almost twice as long as Insane BRS is tall. Aesthetically, it follows the same paint finish as her armor and continues the tired and worn look and feel. The broken star on either side of the cannon is a nice touch too. There's also a chain that attaches to the rear of the figure via a tiny peg, and there's even a swivel out arm for pulling off huge chain gun poses. The whole thing is epic. Like the original Figma BRS, this version also comes with an extra stand just to support her cannon lance. The only difference is that this one is noticeably shorter. This does make some higher, more dynamic poses difficult to pull off, but if you have any other Figmas, then you can always use a regular stand as a replacement. And, of course, all the standard oddities are also included with this release. The final accessory included with Insane Black Rock Shooter is her Flaming Violet Eye. However, unlike the original BRS, this does not come attached on a second front hairpiece. Instead, it's just a clip-on attachment. If I'm honest, I'm not really a fan of this implementation of the flame. It fits securely now, but in time I can see the connection getting quite loose and not being able to hold in the future. Still, I love the look and am pretty satisfied with how it turned out. Figma Insane Black Rock Shooter is beyond belief. It's a figure that hits and delivers on every level and easily surpasses all my expectations prior to owning it. Aesthetically, this is one of the most cohesive sculpts I've ever seen in a posable figure that's not a robot. Her articulation is fantastic, and the added features such as the segmented kneecaps, along with the movable shoulder and wrist guards, really appeal to my fascination with toy engineering. Then there's her accessories, both of which are some of the best ever to be included with any action figure. If you're a fan of Black Rock Shooter or just a fan of great toys in general, then this is something you'll want to look into. The only other thing equally as astonishing as this figure is its price tag. This isn't your standard Figma release. It's special, just as the numbering on the box implies. This figure is exclusive to the limited edition Japanese DVD or Blu-ray anime box set, which will run you a minimum of $250, and 5-inch action figures don't get much more expensive than that. However, if you were lucky, there was a very limited edition Italian release of this Figma, along with the anime that retailed for about $80, and that's the version you see before you. Now, to be completely objective, $80 is still a huge amount to spend on an action figure, but compared to the Japanese release, this was quite a bargain. On the other hand, if you just don't fancy this design, then that makes this figure an even easier pass. In fact, for myself, I still prefer the original figure's look to this one. Don't get me wrong though, I'm absolutely enamored by the fact that Insane Black Rock Shooter looks like she could be Sora's sidekick when wandering through Halloween Town in Kingdom Hearts, but the simple and subtle elegance of the standard BRS narrowly appeal to my tastes that much more. In either case, you can't go wrong. Anyways, this has been Type V3. Thanks for watching, and I hope this review helped to bring some insight on a rather pricey and exclusive Figma. I've never been a fan of purchasing expensive DVDs or other such materials just to get a cool toy, but this is one of those rare cases where I had to bite the bullet and go for it. Nevertheless, the end of this review brings with it a temporary stop to Black Rock Shooter releases in the Figma line. But don't worry, it won't be too long before we start seeing the devilish girl in red along with her King Axe.